Hello, I'm Brigantia, Blackbird of Blackbird's Brew. Happy Thursday. Welcome to our next Thanksgiving themed video. This week we're going to be pondering gratitude. Now, November is a time of year when words like grateful and thankful and blessed get tossed around like birdseed without a whole lot of thought being put into what those words actually mean. But if we look beyond a few worn-out platitudes that people trot out dutifully every year, could we honestly claim that, in general, people are any more inclined to show gratitude for what they have now than at any other time of year? Probably not. More's the pity. But what we get out of holidays is determined by what we put into it, be it a Sabbat or a cultural celebration. Now, we can't control how other people relate to these celebrations, but we can certainly examine ourselves. So let's focus on how we relate to this as individuals. Let's first look at some of the things that people always say that they are grateful for. You know, their family, their marriages, or their romantic relationships, their career, or just having a job in general. Sometimes that's enough. Where they live, the gift of being alive. But how many of these things actually sink below the surface? When it comes to family, well, are they thankful enough for their family to put away their phones to talk to them? When it comes to marriages, are they thankful enough for their marriage or for their romantic relationship to prioritize building and maintaining that relationship, or do they just take the other person for granted? When it comes to their employment or their career, is it important to people to do a good job? Whether they like the job or hate it, are they trying to do the task in an efficient and a productive manner? Are they thankful enough for the money they get out of it in order to put forth that effort? And as far as where we live go, well, are we thankful enough to treat our physical possessions with respect? Property, it is important. It needs to be maintained. Certainly our homes, they shelter us. Are we taking care of it? Are we cleaning it? Are we keeping the energy fresh? This is particularly important for magical practitioners. How do we treat where we live? Is it showing gratitude for it sheltering us and taking care of us? And as far as being alive, well, are people demonstrating by the way they live their lives that they actually appreciate their life, that they enjoy it, that it is something that is worth having? And that's what I always keep coming back to on this subject and so many others. It's, do our actions match our words? Now, what ideally, our thoughts, our words, and our actions will come together as this triumvirate and will all be in alignment. But so often there's a disparity, sometimes because, well, we're busy, we're not really thinking of things, and then suddenly it hits us of, maybe we're going through the motions, maybe we're doing things and it's not necessarily reaching the heart. Well, all through November and that Thanksgiving Day, of course, I think this is a moment to invite our hearts back into it, to not just make this a ritual that you do by rote or something that you feel obligated to do or anything else. Put some heart and soul into it. And I'm not even talking about putting additional money into it. I'm talking about putting yourself into it. Now, the thing about gratitude is I think that it should be defined by actions, not empty slogans. So showing appreciation for what we have, actively enjoying it. If you're glad that someone is in your life, well, you don't have to go around telling them every 5 minutes how glad you are that they're there, but what you can do is listen to them when they speak to you, whether it's, something trivial or something more emotionally involved, just being there for that person, taking an interest, if they have success, genuinely congratulating them. Are you showing that you're glad that they're there? And as far as your spouse goes, are you treating them in a manner that is consistent with how a spouse should be treated? If you think about what an ideal marital relationship would be, and you think about how, the person in your shoes should treat their spouse, well, how does that match up with what you're doing? This isn't the time to be focusing on, the various shortcomings of your marriage mate. Believe me, we all have flaws. And I bet whoever you're married to or whoever you're involved with, they could probably come up with a pretty hefty list of your own personal failings and foibles. So it does go both ways. But it isn't about, our flaws? Are we able to see that person's virtues? Are we able to see the things that they do that actually help make life better? Do we show appreciation for that? Are we grateful to them for their contribution? Let's see, and of course, when it comes to employment, well, I'm not saying we should be grateful to the companies themselves, because so many of the companies do not treat people like human beings, but we can show appreciation for the work itself. This is an opportunity for us to expend our talents. And even if it's a very menial job, there is something to be said for someone who is willing to do a job well. I think it was Ayn Rand who wrote, said that, there are no lousy jobs, there are just lousy people who don't feel like doing the job. There is honor in doing a task well and competently. And since we do live in such a slipshod society, anyone who's willing to do something right and do something to a level of excellence, that's worthy of respect. Something to think about. Certainly where we live, we don't have to live in any place glamorous. I know I certainly don't, but still, this is the roof that is over my head. These are the walls that shield me from the cold winter's chill. This is something that has enabled me to help sustain my life, and I do live here. A lot of history has happened, in this teeny tiny little house that I'm at. So taking care of it, even the way, arranging the furniture and doing the decorations, showing it that it is, no matter how small, it is still worthy of my care, it's worthy of my attention, and it is doing something that I couldn't just do for myself. I can't make my own roof, but I can certainly be grateful for the roof that is over my head. See, and also with the gift of being alive, well, life is for living. Now, I realize there's a lot of factors that are getting in the way of that right now, and I think sometimes just the act of living your life in general is also an act of defiance. But, showing that life, a lot of the things that have happened that have people upset and outraged is because it goes contrary to what it means to be a human being alive and free on the earth. It's interfering with that very basic state of being. So anything that we can do to remind us of, why we're standing up for our values, why life is worth living, why it's just a wonderful gift to be here, that has value, and that is showing gratitude. Another way to show gratitude through actions is by passing on blessings to other people when it's within our power to do so. And we don't have to make a show of it. I don't want anyone going out and embarrassing someone else. Sometimes the kindest act of charity is the one that is anonymous, where it's not about you, it's just about someone had a need, you quietly fulfilled that need, and they're all the better for it. Let the goodness of your action speak for itself rather than trying to get acclaim. Another thing that I'd like to emphasize is that we need to stop looking for excuses to feel hurt. Now, I'm not talking about emotional suppression or emotional evasion, but I am talking about rejecting victimhood culture. Any kind of narrative that is just saying you were doomed to start with and there's nothing you can do to improve your situation, that is an ideology that needs to be tossed right out the window. If it was written on a piece of paper, burn it with fire. Whatever we need to do, we shouldn't be looking for reasons to be miserable. We shouldn't be looking for reasons for why something is wrong in our lives. We need to take a minute and be glad for the things that actually are going right. Gratitude is also about living a full life, and living a full life is about being invested in that life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It's about I am 100% here, and what goes on here matters, and I care. Now, gratitude is an aspect of living that full life, and it isn't about having every advantage that there is, or the most of everything, or getting praise from strangers, but it is about appreciating the good that we have in our life, however small and simple that good might be. It is an act of defiance against all the difficulties in life, particularly the demoralizing ones, to be grateful. Because when we enjoy all that we have, when we appreciate all that we have, that is essentially telling everyone and everything that tries to drag us down that they are less important than the good things that we have in our life. The least little good thing we have in our lives is more important than they are. The good takes precedence, and the bad lacks the power to spoil it. This is a very powerful thing. And for people who are invested in victimhood culture or in trying to drag other people down, or trying to say, oh, everything is bad all the time, this is really a reproach against them, and I think they react to it so viscerally because on some level, even if it's not a conscious level, people who are determined to see the bad in everything, they recognize the threat that this act of defiance against their worldview, what that represents. It means that they could be wrong about absolutely everything. It means that they have been suffering needlessly. It means that they could have had so much more enjoyment, so much, simple enjoyment in the day-to-day pleasures of life, and that they and they alone are the reasons why they are miserable. And that is a terrifying psychological place to be. Now, it's important that we care enough about ourselves that we can be invested in our lives and feel grateful for the fact that we are alive just in and of itself. So if you're dealing with self-esteem issues, I would encourage you to get whatever counseling is required for you to learn to value yourself and value your life and see that you are more than your wounds. There is pain in life, and it is unavoidable that we'll all experience some. But there is more to life than pain, or depression, or being upset all the time. Even if we start very small with gratitude, a well-brewed cup of tea, a warm blanket, a sunny day, that matters. And allowing ourselves to enjoy things is vital to our well-being. So when Thanksgiving comes around and we're all gathered around the table, we don't have to give some big sermon on the subject of gratitude in order to make it a meaningful occasion. But being in the moment, enjoying the company and the food, and taking a day off from life's troubles, that is putting gratitude into action, and that is just as much an integral part of the holiday as it is going around the table and saying what we happen to be most thankful for this year. As good of a tradition as that is, that's only part of the equation, and it's all the unseen, heartfelt, emotional investment and spiritual investment we put into the holiday that really gives it that extra layer, that extra texture, and that's part of what makes this occasion so very special. So, I think that's it for right now. Next Thursday we'll have another discussion related to Thanksgiving. In fact, I've got my to-do list right here. Let's see, next Thursday. Next Thursday, our Thanksgiving video will be on the theme of friendships across cultures, so please be sure to come back for that. If you haven't already visited us at Blackbird's Brew, there is a link in the description box below for you to join, and of course, subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, and I will see you later. Bye!